far?
Well, good morning, Betty. And with regard to the resurgence of criminal gangs here in Mombasa County, there happens to be some 3 criminal gangs that are considered to be untouchable and specifically revolving around in 2 constituencies. That is Likoni constituencies, where Wajukuu Wanyanya seems to be the leading gang there and terrorizing the residency of that sub-county, and also the sub-county of Kisauni, that is where Wakali Kwanza and Wakaliwa operates in. And according to some of the issues that we've been able to gather, is that there are 3 things that are coming out in this the resurgence of the criminal gangs. One has to do with how they operate and the age limit that is being involved. For example, many of the residents and the police are saying that these criminal gangs involve the youths of ages between 10 and 18 years, and you're looking at the scenario that is happening, and what has been happening since for the last 2 weeks tells a lot in terms of what the residents have been complaining. And on the other side also, the police have been blamed for killings that are said to be suspected to be members of these criminal gangs. And according to those who have been killed and the reports that we have been able to receive from the human rights side, we're told that at least 12 people have been killed in in a week, that is last week. And their bodies, some of the bodies we are said are still lying at the Coast General mortuary. And looking at the scenario and what comes out is many are asking, are the police targeting the real criminals? And the blaming from the members of the public together with the human rights that the police need to follow the law in terms of what is needed. If they arrest a suspect, they should not be able to kill him, as per the human rights based here in Mombasa. Muhuri and Haki Africa have been on the forefront saying that the police need to follow the law. And also the third issue, Betty, has to do with the result of all this. Why are we seeing the resurgence of these criminal gangs? And is this a society problem or a community problem that many of the parents also have been blamed? Because when you look at the ages that we are told between ages of 10 to 18, these are little kids that maybe could be at school, and the issue of unemployment comes from the ages of between 20 to 30 years. And so the police also could be in a catch-22 here in terms of the real suspects and in maintaining law and order. Because last week, I remember, I did a story of a 26-year-old who was killed, and he was suspected to be one of the criminal gangs. And according to the parents, they denied that, saying that he has been an border operator. Everyone knows the person. And so the other issue is that the police are also being blamed. And looking at the larger issue that revolves around what the NCIC had mentioned in the earlier week, has to do with the 90% that of the criminal gangs are also financed by the politicians. But I would remember the Likoni Member of Parliament had dismissed the report, saying that the report has no basis in terms of the blaming. And there also seems to be some success stories that maybe the residents of Mombasa can learn. Remember, in 2 years before, there were some criminal gangs that are operating in Old Town, but you can't be able to appreciate that the locals themselves had initiative of having the Nyumba Kumi program, also putting up CCTV. And these days, when you go to Old Town, you can be able to see that the youths of that area are involving themselves in meaningful employment, or also having some businesses in that area. And the rate of crime has really reduced in Old Town. And we are seeing that the business in that area, the tourist sites that are there, are slowly gaining. And so if these measures are put in place in areas such as Kisauni and Likoni, then we could be able to see a lasting solution in terms of the resurgence of the criminal gangs. Betty.
Right, Francis, before I let you go, last week security agencies, at the Coast Region arrested about 119 suspected, criminal elements in the county. Do we know what has been happening, if there's any processes that have been ongoing with regards to these particular cases? Because 119 really is quite a huge number. Do we know of anything that's happening with these particular cases?
Well, that happened in Likoni constituency, and after we did that story with regard to what was happening in Likoni, I remember there was an operation that was carried out by the police in terms of cooling the temperatures that are there at Likoni. But currently, what we understand, most of these of the suspects that were arrested were children of ages between 10 to 15 years, and so many of them, their parents also were heading to the police station so they can be able to identify their kids, and also they are being questioned by the police before they were allowed to go back with their kids. And so the operation seems to have cooled down the temperatures and what has been happening in Likoni specifically. But largely looking at what maybe the residents also have been complaining in terms of being attacked by the machetes, and most of these kids are said to have been staying in one location that they can't be able to attack a person, and their timing is very suspect also, given that they attack at around 6 to 8 p.m. and so many of the security operators are also questioning the level of the parents in terms of taking care of their kids and making sure that they are responsible and they're doing the things that they are doing. They should be in a manner that is acceptable. Another issue, Betty, it has to do with the religious class. Also, they have been blamed in terms of making sure that this problem has been solved, and they need to be coming out so that they can be able to issue the right advice and also the values that are needed in terms of the religion. Betty.
Finally, Francis Mtalaki, police, have been accused by the residents of not being too committed, really, to fighting these juvenile gangs. The residents there are blaming police for laxity, and of course, you've mentioned that police are coming out to say that no, we're doing something about this situation. But as our point man at the coast, what can you say really? Have you seen with regard to agitation by the police to ensure that the residents there are safer?
Well, there seem to be a challenge in terms of the police and how they can be able to arrest some of the suspects. And this is driven by the fact that most of these criminal gangs, how they operate is very difficult. I understand earlier on I also did an interview with one of the self-proclaimed Wakali Kwanza member. He says that how they train and how they operate in the evening is very difficult for any police officers to be able to identify them, because they train at the beach that right behind where we are in some of these areas, and you cannot be able to identify really this is a criminal, and what he is doing in terms of his mission is to attack the local at the village. And two, how they attack, he was saying that it's very hard because they operate, one of the members can be able to attack, then they join for a reinforcement, and they don't move as a group. Then for the police, it has been a challenge in terms of identify who are the real criminals, and that's why maybe we're seeing the human rights blaming the police for what they are saying, that killing the